Growing up, I thought I was like a weirdo and was really ashamed of being Indian, and yeah.
So Doreen, do you feel represented by popular media?
No, is the short answer.
Why is that? Why?
So I just struggle so much to like see myself in things. Like there's just no people of colour represented really in popular media. And where there is, it's that kind of token one person. So if you do say, for example, oh, but we're not represented, they'll quote like one person that has been represented as a person of colour in the last like 50 years. How many celebrities can you think of, or like popular media artists, yeah, celebs, I guess, do you see represented? Not that many. And if you do see anyone who is like, well, for my case, like a black person is usually, twerking, or they're the gangster, or they're the side chick, or they're the helper. It's never like the main character or leading character or inspiring character. It's more the kind of to have a comedy aspect to something, you know, and it's a bit of the joke on the side, which then also triggers how other people perceive black people in real life, because popular media just influences people so much. So then people that you go to school with or meet up, they'll think it's okay to say certain things because they've seen it on TV, and it's like, no. So very problematic, popular media, and no, I do not feel represented will be the short answer. What about you? Do you feel represented by popular media?
God, no, definitely not. Especially as someone who has multiple identities in terms of kind of race, sexuality, religion. I definitely don't think there is someone I could say that represents me. Especially being Bangladeshi and working class, I still don't see the representation there either. I do think, however, the younger generation, we are working towards it. And people are kind of, you know, being more brave about actually embracing their identities and not keeping it hidden or quiet. For example, there are more, you know, bisexuals in popular media today, but at the same time, they don't fully represent me. So there are aspects which I can't relate to with them. But I do think as a whole, we are working towards it. And there is far more progress today than there was maybe a decade ago.
Growing up, I didn't feel represented. And these days I sort of do, because there's different versions of popular media now, because there's so many different platforms, and I think influencers is one new thing that we didn't have growing up that we have now, which is sort of like popular media. And there are so many like South Asian women who identify as British and also from their minority background, who are really widely represented. So I'd say yes, now I feel represented. But growing up, I didn't. I thought I was like a weirdo and was really ashamed of being Indian, and yeah.
I have never thought that I'm not represented by popular media, so in that sense then I guess I probably am. I mean, I'm a white male, so you know, there's plenty of people like me on TV. I tune into any TV program, there's going to be someone that's in some ways like me. And I guess, you know, TV's becoming much more, I don't know, inclusive of, you know, LGBT. So yeah, as I say, it's never struck me that I'm not represented, so I guess I probably am.
Yeah, I'm definitely not, being someone of colour, and that's kind of one thing that I'm kind of trying to change, really, by going down the route of performing arts and like getting on people's TVs, really, on social media. I don't feel like, the other cultures are not represented enough, but yeah, I can't be naive to think that I'm not living in a bracket on bracket white man's world.
Do you feel like then it's just always a battle? Like, do you feel like the only representation of, you know, young black men or you know, men of colour on television or the media is negative?
Negative, yeah.
Yeah.
Like either on the news with like deaths and stabbings and drugs, or we're just playing that same character but in a movie or a mini-series. And so, yeah, but I think times are changing though. I'm hopeful.
Do you feel represented by the popular media?
Not in the least.
Okay.
Yeah, severely underrepresented. I don't really know how I can flesh that out much more. Do you feel represented by popular media?
No, although there have been attempts to like fix it. So I'm fat. Like, and obviously there was no body diversity in the media in any way, shape or form until kind of a few years ago. Like the body positivity movement that's kind of come out of Instagram and Twitter has done a lot of stuff for that. Like now that kind of like fat women are starting to get more visible, it's brought like a whole other like set of issues, which is like what is like the ideal fat body, and it's a bit of an odd one. But like that's, I think in other senses, like that's the only really real gripe I can have. There's no diversity of working class representation in British media whatsoever, and I'm kind of sick of it. You've either got kind of like stupid poor people in the countryside that don't ever aspire to do anything and aren't capable of doing anything, which apparently I'm in that category because I'm a poor person from the countryside. And then, or you've got kind of like these inner city working class that are just like getting by the skin of their teeth, and they're like out like stabbing each other all the time, and you know, it's like gritty, and it kind of leads to this whole like narrative that David Cameron was like pushing back in like 2013, which was like strivers versus skivers, and like that's like, and that kind of like gave rise to all of this poverty porn, and it was really easy to dehumanize kind of the working class and poor people in the UK, and because there was no visibility. You know, I have like friends from school and who, you know, rely on food banks, but they work full time, and it just seems like all of that is completely hidden by what you see.